Back to our top story now. The ANC in KZN cannot make unilateral decisions regarding appeals. That's according to the party's mother body. ANC spokesperson Zizi Kodwa now joins us in the studio. Thanks so much for joining us again today. I'm starting to feel like you enjoy our company.
No, I think you must invite me to come here to be the co-host.
Now, our lead story at the moment, running with the decision that's come through from the KZN branch that said that they will be appealing that decision. When you were in the studio with us yesterday, you said repeatedly that you respect the decision of the court and that the ANC would take its time to study the judgment and then decide on a way forward. Were you able to speak to anybody from the KZN leadership yesterday, and what was decided?
We spoke to them even this morning. Our view is that we will continue to advise them that they must resist any temptation to ventilate the matters even before we meet with the National Executive Committee. The National Executive Committee or the National Working Committee, or at least the officials, we haven't met with the KZN leadership since the ruling yesterday. And I think it's important to appreciate that, firstly, the ANC is a unitary organization. We don't operate in a federal manner that provinces can agree on a matter that rests with powers of the National Executive Committee, because provinces don't enjoy original powers in terms of the constitution of the ANC. They are given delegated powers, and therefore we'll continue to request comrades to resist any temptation to continue make further statements or running commentary on the matter. We are arranging to meet with the national leadership, with the provincial leadership soon, in a matter of few days. The consequence of the sequel of that discussion could be whether the meeting of the National Working Committee or an urgent meeting of the NEC. But for us at the moment to speak and to issue conflicting messages, it may just be sending a confusing message, both to the membership of the ANC but also to society. At the moment, we are calling for the leadership of KZN to allow space for the national leadership to deal with the matter, while in constant contact with everybody else to arrange time, allowing both sides, the national leadership in the form of officials that must meet with the officials of KZN. The sequel and the consequence of that discussion could be whether to convene another broader meeting such as the National Executive Committee.
So if you feel that as a national ANC you were quite clear in what you felt should be done next in terms of the process, and that you communicated that to the KZN leadership, what got lost in the message in that they received what you had told them or instructed them or conversed with them, and they then are published in the media as saying something completely different?
No, the comrades met last night, as we understand, in a form of a provincial executive committee or a PwC. They met and then they came to the determination. And we think that even that discussion must be subjected to the national leadership. So it's quite unfortunate that they went ahead and make a pronouncement even before we meet. But we don't think everything is such shattering in terms of the discussions they had last night. Let's subject anything to the discussion at a national level.
What can you perhaps give us an idea of what the atmosphere is like within the KZN leadership right now, if there seems to be some kind of disconnect between themselves and the national office?
Obviously, from the point of view of the ANC, is that there are no winners or losers from yesterday. What is important is that what the ruling must give us an opportunity is we must look back in the ANC and reflect how best to make sure that out of that ruling, the ANC must emerge as a strong African National Congress. So there shouldn't be a sense of being a triumphalism, of being victorious, because that on its own it will not help the ANC. But others must not feel a sense of being helpless, and therefore they feel that they are losers in the period. We must make sure that all of us, we put our effort together, that at the end the ANC must emerge strong in KwaZulu-Natal.
If I was a normal branch member of the ANC in KZN right now, would you say it would be fair that I would be feeling a little bit confused about the mixed messages that I'm getting from two sets of so-called leadership factions within the KZN area, as well as a different message from the ANC at national level?
The point we made is that for the KZN 2015 conference to go ahead, it had to come before the National Executive Committee, emphasizing the point that we are a unitary organization, we're not a federal organization. So they are ruling effectively. It was a ruling against the decision of the National Executive Committee. So it had to come before the NEC first, in terms of what next step needs to be taken politically. So we think that membership of the organization shouldn't be confused. The Secretary General was very clear this morning, even yesterday, including our statement. We are still re-emphasizing the message we made even yesterday, that let's allow ourselves reserved space politically so that we can appreciate the political ramification of the ruling of Maritzburg High Court.
I have run out of time, but I need to ask you one more question. We spoke yesterday. You spoke at length about the ANC continually looking at whether its mechanisms in terms of dealing with disputes within the party is working, what needs to change, what needs to be tweaked. With a situation like this, at what point do you believe people in a leadership position in the ANC have, for want of a better word, gone rogue, and that action needs to be taken against them?
We were very clear during our NGC in 2015. We said there are few phenomenons and tendencies which are beginning to creep in the organization. We said the influence of money, we said factionalism, we said gatekeeping. We must deal with those issues because they undermine the authority of a branch to an extent that we're beginning to see violence in the meetings of the ANC because people are becoming members of members. People are prepared to die for an individual. We must deal with those issues because they erode the authority of the basic organization, the basic unit of the organization, which is a brand, but also undermine the revolutionary morality, the values which bring us together as members of the ANC.
I'm going to get into a lot of trouble, but there's one more subject I need to ask you about, but you need to keep it brief for me. There was news made over the last few hours. Former President Kgalema Motlanthe in an interview with the BBC, where he was quoted saying that the ANC needs to hit rock bottom and it needs to lose an election before the penny will drop with members and leadership with the ANC, that the party needs to change its course. A very quick response from you as the spokesperson.
We don't subscribe to the notion that the ANC, after death, it will resurrect after the third day. Maybe biblically that is correct, but politically, we don't believe former leaders of the ANC must wish for the ANC to die first, and therefore out of a carcass of a dead ANC, a new ANC shall emerge. We must put our effort together. That's why comrades like Kgalema, they continue to attend our meetings, which is right, and President Mbeki, they must continue to come and advise us of how best do we strengthen the ANC, because the ANC, it is the only hope of people of South Africa have. There is no other hope that people have. It can't die, therefore, and hope that out of its carcass it shall emerge. If it dies, it may not come back. That's why it's unfortunate that members of the ANC and no member of the ANC must wish that the ANC must die, including losing election. We must put our effort together so that the ANC must win again in 2019, and it will win. The ANC won't lose election.
We'll keep that on record.
Thank you.
ANC spokesperson Zizi Kodwa joining us in the studio.